If your psychotic friend group started feeding people to a horrible sludge monster for YouTube fame, what would you do? What started off as a simple history assignment quickly spirals into a never-ending quest for viral content. And the star of it all is a 7-foot-tall flesh-eating freak by the name of Crackamole? Jesus. Of course, we all know the mob is easily bored, and eventually the gang is forced to take their channel in a new direction. Nothing like a live feeding video to crank up the numbers, especially when the main course turns out to be man meat. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the crippling stupidity in where the scary things are. Isla is a terrible person, and so are all her friends, especially this little psycho.
Grant here with another brand-tastic video. Today we're doing another episode of Bum Fights.
Dude, yeah, Bran might actually be the worst of them. Although, between his entrepreneurial exploitation, Scribble's black hat hacking for blackmail, and Isla's general desire to torment people she finds annoying, it's basically neck and neck. The other three are just a bunch of spineless little toadies that go along with whatever they say, so that pretty much makes them every bit as bad. This merry band of ne'er-do-wells call themselves the Dockers, which sounds extremely stupid until you find out it's derived from their preferred pastime of digging up dirt on their classmates and dumping it online for all to see. Now, it just sounds like journalism. At any rate, when they're not busy ruining people's lives, Isla's a-holes like to hang out at the local Halloween park, despite the fact it's only ever open on, you guessed it, Halloween. And as you could probably imagine, this has made them real popular with the one inept guard left in charge of the place.
Hey, you kids!
Run.
What do you expect strolling right down the middle of the road in broad daylight? Seriously, your hypertrophic henchman already warned you about the security detail, and yet you still went walking on like you own the place. Just look around. This entire place is littered with cover and concealment you could have used to stay out of sight. Then again, what's the point when you have current year's technology? This isn't Passchendaele, for Christ's sake. Instead of sprinting all the way back to report in, your lookout could have kept an eye on him and sent you a text once the coast was clear. Nerds, I have some news for you. It's Raid's 4th anniversary. Imagine, it's 4 years of collecting great champions and fighting with amazing graphics. To celebrate, Raid offers you to invite 4 champions to the party. These are my picks. Talia, the epic magician. She'll create the perfect magical cocktail. Another one is the rare seducer. I don't think I need to explain anything at this time. The third is Kreela Witcharm, legendary support. She'll be able to support anyone at the party. And legendary Roxanne. He has a 75% chance of placing a debuff on the target. So if anybody gets angry at the party, Roxanne will calm it down. Think about champions you'll invite and get gifts and free bonuses from Raid for the game's 4th anniversary. Take the offers, use new promo codes, and participate in a brand new fusion event to get an anniversary-themed legendary champion. Use the link in the description or scan my QR code to get an epic Kellen the Shrike and other bonuses. Let's create the biggest dinner party in Raid. Lucky for them, Paul Blart here isn't exactly RoboCop, although he certainly moves as fast. Now's the part where you morons leave the park and come back some other time. Like I mentioned in one of my recent Movie Sins videos, once you break line of sight, it'll be pretty much impossible for him to catch up as long as you stay quiet and keep moving, which totally defeats the purpose of a hangout. That said, he clearly can't keep this up for very long, hence his resorting to Plan B. Hang on, this goon cracks off a desk pop, and that makes you want to come towards him. For all you know, he just dosed one of your friends in the back of the head out of sheer frustration, and now you're next. Dumb ass teenagers. And does this experience inspire them to change their behavior in any way? No, of course not. In fact, they literally come right back the very next day. Like, I know the rent-a-cop wasn't actually trying to kill them, but given he's willing to go winging off a criminally irresponsible warning shot like that, dude could very well wind up smoking one of them by accident. Nah, what am I saying? Obviously, none of these brainiacs think that far ahead. Right now, their biggest concern is nailing a homework assignment for their history class. Come up with an urban legend and try to pass it off as legit. Of course, as the saying goes, truth is often stranger than fiction.
Is that the guard?
No.
Wow, that was fun. So here's an idea. Let's get the fuck on out of Spooky Town before Swamp Thing gets back up and starts biting our heads in half. We have no idea what this is, or if there might be more of them, and this whole wounded puppy routine could very well be a ruse to make us let our guards down. Not that anyone in their right mind could ever possibly relax after seeing something like this. For real, this has got to be the most blasé reaction to finding a monster I've ever seen. Yeah, just load it up on a tarp and drag it inside. What could possibly go wrong? Of course, if this thing looks as crappy to them as it does to us, there's a chance they don't think it's a creature at all, just some big drunk furry who set himself on fire. In that case, their next move makes a lot more sense.
Max, find something to restrain this thing for the time being. Just ropes, chains, I don't know.
Yes, because we clearly know the extent of the unknown abomination's physical capabilities, having only seen it passed out on the ground. And just wait until you see what he comes up with next. Dude freaking ties some ropes around its waist. Like, I honestly can't even think of something to compare this to. Have you never actually seen someone tied up before? You know, like in the movies or cartoons or whatever. Okay, obviously, I don't know its limitations either, but it doesn't exactly take an Eagle Scout to realize what an absolute mess this is. First of all, what's stopping this thing from turning right around and chewing through its restraints with those massive teeth? Pretty much any dog on the planet would be out of there in a matter of minutes. And even if it turns out to be dumb as a post, you've left it enough slack that it could probably take a running start and break free by accident. We saw this thing walking around on two legs, and anatomically speaking, it's fairly similar to a human. Hands, feet, arms, legs, everything you'd expect. How about you start by hog tying the sucker so it can't tear out your living guts when you stand insanely close to it? We could even give it the old damsel on the railroad tracks treatment and wrap it up head to toe. Just about anything's gotta be better than this show. I mean, what happens when it inevitably escapes and turns your little sanctuary into a graveyard?
That would be bad.
Yeah, for me. I can't lose this place. This is my escape.
You're right. What a shame it would be if all those preventable deaths forced you to hang out at the mall. So, assuming for a moment that we weren't a bunch of teenage dirtbags, what would be the best way to handle this situation for the benefit of all mankind? I think the best answer would be to deliver its still smoking corpse to a team of scientists for further examination. As far as we know, this could be some kind of extraterrestrial life form, meaning it's of the utmost importance we learn what makes it tick, and then how to make that ticking stop. Preferably from a nice safe distance. The real question, however, is how we go about achieving this goal as a random gang of suburb slime. Given we were only armed with a bat at the time of the first contact, the fact that it was already injured could have very well saved our lives, but I still would not have started swinging away in case it suddenly got a second wind. Fact is, going anywhere near this thing while that could randomly reanimate is extremely risky, so we should only approach it once we have a surefire plan to keep it down for good. And I think I might have just the idea. We can clearly see the creature breathing while it's on the ground, meaning it must need air like anything else. Sure, we could try bashing its teeth out and ramming our arm down its throat like that chick from the horror classic known as Feast, but why get your hands dirty when history provides far more expedient means of inducing the unalive? Just think, what would our forefathers do in this situation?
We have found the witch, may we burn her?
The good old days. The heat alone might be enough to do the deed, but like any good steak burning, the real killer will be suffocation resulting from smoke inhalation and the fire consuming all available oxygen. And now, all we need is a fuel source. Of course, doing this clone correct would mean gathering up as much dry wood as possible and piling it up around the target, and there's no way I'm spending that much time with this thing. In that case, we'll have to siphon gas from any nearby vehicles and napalm the sucker, just to be on the safe side. Either way, it'll take time for us to round up the necessary materials, and there's no telling how long we'll have before Sleeping Beauty gets back on its feet and finds another group of high schoolers to play with. Honestly, as stupid as it was to drag this thing inside, that would definitely make this a lot easier. Once it was properly restrained, we could just roll in a few burning tires and call it a night. Now, I know what you're thinking, but nerd, why not just take our recording of the encounter to the authorities and let them handle it? Well, as Isla and company company will soon find out, basically no one on planet Earth who actually matters is going to look at that footage and assume it's genuine, much less proceed to go trespassing with a bunch of zit bags in pursuit of the real-life boogeyman. Just about the only way we could achieve something like that would be to fake some sort of emergency and lead the cops to it that way, but that would require us to keep this thing restrained until they get there, and if we're gonna go to that much trouble, I think we deserve the satisfaction of sending it back to hell ourselves. It's only fair. Clearly the super best friends feel the same way, except it seems they want to have a little fun with it first. After all, what's the point in having a pet if you can't milk it for internet fame? Which is why this is currently happening.
Do it, please.
Man, it's a good thing Isla snatched that Beretta from her future stepdad. Otherwise, that could have been dangerous. So, aside from assessing its vulnerability to firearms, what exactly was the point of this exercise? You're just lowering the perceived stakes by making it seem less dangerous. If anything, you should have pulled this stunt after torturing the shit out of it, and then aired that footage first to make it look like you weren't just abusing a burn victim for no apparent reason. Then again, it probably would have cost us our leading lady once old Greg stuck its thumbs through her eye sockets. Speaking of which, props to Isla for having the nerve to put herself within munching distance, but god, what if Scribble couldn't pull her away in time? Not to mention the fact that she would have been standing in the way of a virtually untrained shooter if things went sideways. In that case, it probably would have made more sense for her to have the gun so she could mag dump under its chin at the first sign of trouble. Oh well, what's done is done. The only question now is whether it all pays off.
Obviously, you get A's on the project. I mean, yeah, the video's incredible. 10,000 views in just over 2 weeks.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere. Of course, like Mr. Lewis, everyone online thinks it's just special effects, which really gets under Isla's skin for some reason. Probably should have thought of that before naming it Crockamole of all things. How about something slightly less ridiculous, like Needles, or Spine Eater, or, you know, Fuckface. For real though, who actually cares if a bunch of randos think it's all fake? People watch stuff they know isn't real all the time. Besides, if it seems too legit, it'll be harder to monetize. And that'll be the least of their worries once the US Department of Fish and Wildlife finds out they've been harboring an unlicensed swamp creature. The way Isla sees it, this just means they haven't gone far enough. And since she can't exactly get her hands on those haters in the comments section, they'll have to go with the next best thing.
You want me to go in here? Are you guys buying me a car?
Jesus Christ, you can't just feed it a homeless guy. You have to build up to it first. You know, tease it a little bit. Maybe start off small with some roadkill and work your way up. I mean, where exactly can you go from here? No one's gonna care to watch this thing wolf down a woodchuck after seeing this, and you're bound to run out of drifters eventually. As for the snackrifice himself, poor guy never stood a chance. He clearly needed the money, and the possibility of meeting Mr. Beast was simply too great to pass up. It also didn't help that he completely failed to recognize the monster for what it is, and even went as far as turning his frickin' back to it. That said, the gang is armed, so one way or another, he probably wasn't making it out of there in one piece. Aside from creating killer content, the sight of an innocent man being callously served up like a cheeseburger gives Isla an idea, and just in time for her mom's piece of shit boyfriend to come by. Evidently, Gator needs his gat back, and he's had just about enough of all her teenage shenanigans, like the way she doesn't respond to his disgusting physical advances.
You think I'm stupid?
Well, let's see. It took you more than 2 days to figure out what happened to your piece. You know, the one you left dangling from the pocket of your biker jacket. And instead of confronting her about this back at her house so her mom could at least serve as witness, you went by yourself to her little hoodlum hideout where any number of her friends could be waiting to jump you when you least expect it. Oh yeah, let's also not forget that the gun she stole from you was in fact a gun, meaning they could absolutely shoot you if you give them a reason to, like roughing up their little ringleader, for example. All that is to say, yes, I think you're stupid, and that's why you're going to die in here. Scratch another one for Crockamole. Say what you will about his living conditions, he won't be going hungry, and here's hoping he saved room for dessert, because Ayla's just getting warmed up. Having realized she can use her personal freak show to dispose of her enemies, she decides to call up her arch nemesis of the last 10 years to finally bury the hatchet in the back of her head. I'm joking, of course. They're just gonna feed poor Jenny to the monster. Only this time, they'll be sure to get it on camera. Can't let a good suffering go to waste, right? There's just one problem. They're all gonna spend the rest of their lives in prison. Seriously, what kind of moron calls the person they're going to murder right before they do it? That's literally the first thing the cops are gonna check once she goes missing, which coincidentally will happen right around the time your latest feeding video goes up. Interesting. I wonder if those two things are related. Oh, and then there's the fact that they're doing the deed at a location so strongly associated with him that even Ayla's idiot stepdad knew to look there. By now, everyone at school probably knows that's where these rejects hang out, meaning the investigators will probably be out there in full force on day one. All that being said, they were all completely screwed the second Ayla squeezed trig on the last one. Just like Jenny, the police are going to check his phone data, which will almost certainly show a ping at the Halloween park sometime after he was last seen alive. This means no matter what they do, it's only a matter of time before the cops find both Crockamole and a ton of DNA evidence. And at that point, neither face blurring nor Scribble's awesome hacker skills are going to keep them out of handcuffs. In the meantime, let Jenny's experience serve as a grisly reminder that people never change. Teaches her for crying in history class. Obviously, whoever said never let them take you to a second location wasn't envisioning something like this. But yeah, never let them take you to another location. Risking a gunshot is pretty much always going to work out better for you than whatever your attackers have in mind, especially once you've seen all their faces. As a matter of fact, there was even a point while they were marching her off to the dining room where the trigger man had his pistol pointed straight at the ground like he forgot which side the bullets came out of. That would have been an ideal time to make a grab for it, or at the very least, sock Scribble in the face and run for her life. It's not like any of these other dweebs are gonna stop her. Speaking of which, there appears to be some dissension in the ranks, as one of the punks, Snack? What kind of stupid nickname is that? No wonder he's pissed off. Anyway, what's his name decides he can't let his friends go on feeding people to a living gimp suit, so he tells a teacher, bro, this guy's authority begins and ends at the government building. You need to go to the cops and tell them you saw someone collecting rainwater down at the park. Okay, maybe something a little crazier than that, just as long as it doesn't include the words Croca and Moly, or they may try and book you for underage drinking. Actually, this would be a great time to employ my previous strat of faking an emergency and leading the responders out to the creature cage. I'd probably go with the wild animal attack so they know to be ready for trouble. Plus, it couldn't hurt to have a game warden show up with a hunting rifle, just in case the 9mm fail to leave an impression. Unfortunately for our heroes, another one of Ayla's boy toys overheard their conversation, and now it looks like they'll be starring in Crockamole's latest mukbang.
Is that why you brought me here? Kill me?
No. Miss Lewis, no.
I mean, it certainly seems like it. What exactly was your plan once you guys got here anyway? You couldn't exactly move this thing. All you could really do was show Mr. Lewis to lend yourself some credibility when you actually reported it. But as we've already established, you could have just gone straight to the cops in the first place. So basically, you put yet another innocent man's life in jeopardy for no good reason. Yeah, great going, Snack. At this point, I say we just rush Scribble to gain control of the firearm. Dude's hardly a sharpshooter, and we could probably wrestle it away from him before he can land something fatal. Not exactly the best plan in the world, but that's what we get for putting ourselves in this situation to begin with. Besides, it's either that or get eaten alive. I don't care what they're pointing at me. No way I'm picking door number 2. However, despite his appearance, his actions, his dumb name, and pretty much everything about him, Snack is smart enough to recognize a third option. Release the Kraken and let it savagely tear everyone to pieces. Wait a second, that's a terrible idea. How does he know it won't do the same thing to him? Well, about that. Evidently, Snack and Crockamole soul bonded one night after he fed it some rotten hamburger. Sadly, Mr. Lewis can't say the same. Oopsie. Yeah, probably should have warned him to get out of the way. On the other side of the equation, Scribble should have put a cap in Snack the second he suggested freeing the beast like that. Simply put, we already know bullets work on people, but we don't know if they work on swamp creatures. Spoiler alert, they do not. Or at least not fast enough to stop one from ripping your face off after getting mag dumped center mass. As for everyone else, why are you not running away screaming right now? I know popping off in an enclosed space can be disorienting, but that doesn't mean your legs stop working. Besides, if Scribble can't drop it with a pistol, what exactly are you gonna do? Ultimately, Ayla's the only one who tries to make a run for it, and barring some kind of major malfunction on her part, there's pretty much zero chance this thing will ever catch up to her. I mean, just think about it. She's been hanging out here for years and knows the entire layout like the back of her hand. All she has to do is find the nearest exit and keep moving until she can flag down a car. Not to mention the fact that all her friends were nice enough to stay back and get mauled to death while she got a head start. Just about the only way I could see her getting nailed is if she corners herself in a small cramped space somewhere within sniffing distance of the final showdown. But she'd have to be absolutely brain dead to think of something like that. Really? You couldn't have found a hiding spot that wasn't clearly visible from the outside? Whatever. It's not like she'd have much of a life to live with a cornuplethora of charges headed her way. And with that, Crocamole fades back into the darkness from whence it came. Although, let's be real, with as many people as it's eaten in the last couple of days, there is no way we've seen the last of this thing. We can only hope that next time around, it's found by people with access to bigger guns, or at the very least, better naming skills. In the end, the only person who didn't get eaten was a guy named Snack. Yeah. However, had we used our thinky parts from the very beginning and left this freak the hell alone, literally none of this would have happened. None of it. For that reason, I think Where the Scary Things Are was beaten. Moral of the story, friends don't let friends feed people to swamp monsters.